shout out to the haters in that corner over there. They're gone. Where are you? I don't hear you anymore. It's okay. It's okay. No. It's okay. They're gone. I don't hear them anymore.
So let's break this all the way down. So Taylor Townsend just beat Elena Ostapenko in straight sets at the US Open yesterday. And instead of shaking hands like a professional, Ostapenko walks up and says, "You have no class, no education. Let's see what happens when we play outside the United States." So while she's saying this, she's literally pointing at Taylor's face and jabbing her finger down toward her like she's trying to shrink her, put her in her place. That's not just disrespect, it's intimidation. It's visual domination. And when it's done to a Black woman on a world stage, it's not just personal, it's political. Telling a Black woman she has no education is not random. That's a dog whistle. It's the same rhetoric that's been weaponized for centuries to strip Black women of our intellect, our value, our place. And it's always used when we win, when we disrupt the narrative, when we dare to take up space. And no class, another tired line meant to shame us when we don't smile and shrink. Townsend didn't gloat. She didn't disrespect anyone. She won. And suddenly that's a problem. So then when she says, "Let's see what happens when we play outside the United States," what are you really saying? That she only wins because of some imagined home court advantage? Or is it a warning that outside the United States, a Black woman like Townsend will get put back in her place? That's not a tennis critique. That's racialized language. That's veiled aggression. And in that moment, pointing in her face, speaking down to her, dripping with entitlement, it wasn't just about losing a match. It was about punishing a Black woman for daring to be excellent in a space that wasn't built for her. And through all of that, Townsend stood tall and said, "I'll let my racket talk." That is grace. That's composure. That is what real class looks like. Now, I want to see that same professionalism from the United States Tennis Association and the US Open leadership. Ostapenko should be fined. There needs to be disciplinary action because when Black athletes are met with hostility, verbal or physical, and nothing is done, the message is clear. You're going to protect the game, but not the people in it. If the roles were reversed, if this behavior had been directed at a white player, it wouldn't even be up for debate. It would be action, immediate and loud. Racism in sports doesn't always show up in slurs. Sometimes it's in the tone, the words, the body language, the finger in the face, the need to diminish and dominate. And if the tennis world stays silent now, you're telling Black athletes exactly where you stand.
Competition, people get upset when they lose, and you can't. Some people say bad things. She told me I have no class, I have no education, and to see what happens when we get outside the U.S. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I beat her in Canada outside the U.S. I beat her in New York outside the U.S. So let's see what else she has to say.
When we see a Black player being singled out, disrespected, or attacked, we need to name it for what it is: racial hostility, dismissing it as just drama, minimizing the very real bias that athletes of color face. When media call this meltdown or unprofessionals, they are tapping into racist stereotypes, painting Black athletes as angry or aggressive in ways their white counterparts are not. And let's not ignore the double standard here. When white players shows confidence, it is called passion. When Black women, like Townsend, shows the same energy, they are labeled as arrogant or aggressive. That's systemic bias, plain and simple. This win is bigger than tennis. It's about breaking barriers in a sport that historically excluded Black athletes, especially women. Townsend's journey reminds us how race, class, and access to resources shape who gets a chance. to succeed.
Saying I have no education and no class, I don't really take that personally because I know that it's so far from the truth and so far from anything. And again, if I allow what other people have to say about me affect me in that way, then they win. So ultimately, no, I stood up for myself and I kept in my mind in that moment how I wanted to portray myself and how I wanted to show up. And if my son were to see this interaction, how would he view it? And I think he would be proud of the way that I handled the situation.
Out into the loser who told Taylor Thompson that she has no education, no class, and to wait to see what happens outside the USA. We all outside. What's up? What's up? You need that? Do you want that? Because we'll give you that. Y'all cannot stand to lose to a black woman. It just fucks with your whole entire ego to lose to a black woman. Why don't you get in the field? Go to school. Get your education because you clearly don't know what to do with that racket. Like Nicki Minaj said, it is not cool to be a loser. Go to school. Figure out what to do because clearly you don't know. The minute a black woman supersedes y'all immediately tag education and class. I know your ancestors tried to keep us uneducated, but unfortunately, that's not the case. We're the most educated. Do your research. That lady that lost Coco Golf tried to do the same exact shit. Now, why don't you go look at their film, student, and learn from the teacher? Maybe you won't be a loser. Good morning.
So Taylor Townsend won the U.S. Open. After her win, she walks up to her opponent, shakes her hand. Her opponent was Jelena Ostapenko. I hope I'm saying that right. AKA Miss Trunchbull. She really had the audacity to say to Taylor while shaking her hand, "You have no class and no education." Excuse me, what? Some things ain't for everybody. Because somebody like me probably would have beat the shit out of her with that tennis racket. Because it's given a racial undertone. You're mad because you lost? So I have no class and no education? Well, let me show you how much motherfucking education I got with a tennis racket and how many ways I could beat your ass with it. Let me educate you on that. But see, that's not my testimony. So shouts out to Taylor for handling that like a class act. You go, girl.
I just want to say this isn't the trophy that we wanted, but at the end of the day, I'm the only black woman left in the tournament, and there are 2 black men left in the draw. And ultimately, I just hope that Donald and I standing here today, Francis in the semifinals, Coco being a defending champion, just shows people that look like us that it's possible.
When I say I'm super proud of how Taylor handled herself after that match with, I don't know if her name is Helena, Jelena, whatever, how she handled that match with her, and she won, and she went to go shake her hand, and the girl has the audacity to call her uneducated and classless. What? You just lost. And this ain't your first time losing against her. This is a many times of you losing against her. But it's also crazy that you're known for being a sore loser. You're known for that. Like, if anything, get your weight up, come back and try to win against her. But to talk trash and you lost? Like, you gotta be so butthurt to call a person uneducated for a tennis match. What does my education have to do with this current tennis match that you couldn't beat me in? You couldn't win. But it shows your character. It shows that you're a sore loser. And that's all that you've been hearing about that girl, is that she's a sore loser. I'm so proud of how Taylor handled herself. She spoke up. She didn't even use the race card and say that old girl intent was racist. She said, I don't know what her intent was, but I know she lost. And we all know that. You lost real bad. You looked real bad. They need to give you some coaching skills on how not to be a sore loser. It's one thing to talk trash when y'all are playing or whatever the case, but after you done lost, girl, you ain't got no
Competition. People get upset when they lose, and you can't. Some people say bad things. She told me I have no class, I have no education, and to see what happens when we get outside the U.S. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I beat her in Canada outside the U.S. I beat her in New York outside the U.S. So let's see what else she has to say.
Kudos to Taylor Townsend, who not only stood up for herself, but did it in such a articulate and beautiful way. Y'all check this out.
Taylor, congratulations. For a lot of black people, hearing no education, no class would be interpreted, and rightfully so, as a dog whistle. Do you believe that that had racial undertones? And for black people and black women who will hear about this and may have dealt with certain situations where they've had comments where they've interpreted it as more than just competition, what would you say to them?
So that's a two-part question. First, no, I don't know. I can't speak on what her intentions were. I can only speak on how I handled the situation. And how I handled it is someone who's upset about the outcome that occurred. You lost, and you're upset about that. Saying I have no education and no class, I don't really take that personally because I know that it's so far from the truth and so far from anything. And again, if I allow what other people have to say about me affect me in that way, then they win. So ultimately, no, I stood up for myself and I kept in my mind in that moment how I wanted to portray myself and how I wanted to show up. And if my son were to see this interaction, how would he view it? And I think he would be proud of the way that I handled the situation. I'm very strong. I'm very proud as a black woman being out here representing myself and representing us in our culture. And I make sure that I do everything that I can to be the best representation possible every time that I step on the court and even off the court. So I can't speak on how she felt about it. That's something that you're going to have to ask her. I didn't take it in that way. But also, that has been a stigma in our community of, being not educated and all the things when it's the furthest thing from the truth. And the thing that I'm the most proud of is that I let my racket talk. Because ultimately, I'm the one here sitting in front of you guys, moving on to the next round, getting the next check, moving on, being able to still be here and speak to you guys. And that's what's the most important. She's packed up and she's gone. I'm here. And that's the only thing that matters. So whether it had racial undertones or not, that's something that she could speak on. But the only thing that I'm worried about right now is continuing to move forward through this tournament. I know that I'm a fantastic tennis player, and I know that I have a lot of things that I want to accomplish. And this is another stepping stone. It's another brick that I'm laying on my foundation, or on my road to greatness, And so ultimately, whatever it is that it is, I don't take any offense to it, but I'm really proud of the way that I handle myself. And, more than anything, if my son sees that, I know that he'll be proud of me as well.
All right, y'all, what does that sound like? Somebody being a sore loser? That's what it sounds like to me. But what we're going to do is we're going to keep rooting for Taylor as she takes it to the next level. Please remember to like, follow, and share. Peace, y'all. That's one to grow on.
Yo, I'm starting to love tennis, man. I'm starting to love me some tennis. This right here is a representation of white supremacy crumbling. This right here is a representation of white supremacy crumbling, man. The veil has been lifted. You feel me? The veil has been lifted, and the black woman is taking their rightful place. They're not going to apologize for winning. They're not going to say, sorry, Massa, sorry, I do better next time. No, she said, take the fucking hell and move the fuck on and get off the field.
This isn't new. Think of Serena and Venus Williams, who endured years of racism, commentary, and unfair treatment. Tennis has a history of pretending to be a gentleman's game while holding black athletes to a harsher standard. So, while we celebrate Taylor Townsend's victory, let's also push back on the inequalities that makes her path harder than it even needed to be. Representation matters, but dismantling the barriers matters even more. So guys, if you are new to this channel, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel to help the channel grow.